For those of you who haven't attended a SCORE webinar before, we're going to keep this at 1 hour because your time is valuable, and we want to make sure that you get a lot of content in today's webinar. And if for those of you who aren't familiar with SCORE, SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer mentors and expert business mentors. It's a resource partner for the SBA and for those interested in starting or growing your business. All SCORE mentors are volunteers. There's never any charge for any services, including this is a free webinar. We also mentor people on an individual basis. It's always confidential. And we have experts in just about any field. We have about 10,000 volunteers throughout the country. So if you have a specific need, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to find somebody. And we like to say it's for the life of your business. We're not just like a one and done answer kind of question. Many times when you're starting to have a concept of your business, to starting to grow it, your business evolves and has different needs and different questions. And you may have one mentor, and now you have a need for a certain specialty. We'll bring in another mentor. So it's a really great way for you to start and grow your businesses. Again, we're funded by the SBA. The idea is to help more businesses get started and businesses to be more successful and hopefully even maybe hire a few more people. So that's a little bit about SCORE. So I wanted to just tell about today's webinar. Our format is we're going to have Andrea doing a presentation. It's about 30-35 minutes or so. I'm going to ask, we're not going to be using the chat feature today, but rather we're going to be using the Q&A. So if you have a question, we want to have your questions because you have Andrea here. Why not get an answer? And there's no such thing as a question that you think isn't great because maybe somebody else has that same exact question. So I'd invite you to go down to the Q&A, ask your questions as they come up. And then at the end of Andrea's presentation, she'll be able to answer those. And the more questions, the better, because your question may be helping somebody else too. So I wanted to introduce Andrea L, who's a co-founder in the creative company, presents social media content creation tips using Canva. Are you struggling with posting on social and creating content for your small business? Save money and time when you learn these professional content creation tips. Canva is a free graphic design platform that's great for making invitations, business cards, Instagram posts, and more. Get ready to learn Canva's wide array of features like editing photos without extensive photo editing knowledge or experience. Andrea?
All right, thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate the introduction, and I'm going to get right into it because this is a topic that I truly love. So this presentation and everything I show you is made in Canva. And first, I'm going to tell you what Canva is because I'm sure you're wondering, what is this Canva thing that we're so excited about? So what is Canva? So Canva is a multi-purpose design app. I use the desktop version. So right now I have Canva desktop, which is a lot easier than working within the browser. You can just go to the canva.com URL and use it in the browser. However, there are a lot of good functionality features when downloading the desktop version and then also the app too. So you can use it on your phone for any on-the-go content creation. Now you can look to Canva for editing photos and creating social media posts, creating presentations, creating banners, creating invitations. There's an array of ways that you can use Canva, and it's simplified. So if you're familiar with the Adobe Creative Suite like Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, you'll realize that it's like a simpler version, a little bit more intuitive. The more you get to use it, the easier things become. You'll understand where different elements are located, and it really simplifies. Now, I'm an Adobe Creative Cloud user, and I use Photoshop, and I use a lot of the different things that Adobe has. I still rely on Canva for simplifying, right? Because I don't want to make things more complicated. I want to make my time management more effective. So that is something that I use Canva. Even though I use Adobe, I still think Canva is a useful tool to have. So that's why I get really excited about it, because it really opens the door for more people to create content easier and faster. So the three main components of Canva: you would want to consume, create, and share. So it's this ongoing cycle of content creation. It's really just the main components of content, and then it is streamlined. So I'll explain as I dive into Canva how it's streamlined, but the first you want to consume, then create the content, and then share it. So designing in Canva is meant to be easier, right? So we're cutting corners, we're saving time, saving resources. So look to Canva for everything social media, and that includes Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. They're always adding features, which I appreciate, because they're implementing and they're listening to our feedback. You can create designs from scratch, or you can use their templates. That starts to really become a branding thing. So I'll explain that going further on creating a cohesive look for your business. Canva does offer a lot. It's robust for anyone that isn't used to creating content, but it can also be overwhelming and almost be too many options. So before you go into Canva, have a certain aesthetic a look, so that you're not doing too much, right? It's supposed to be simplifying and not like using everything and anything. And another reason why I love Canva, and one of the ways that I use Canva with my own team, is that you can create teams and have people work on projects simultaneously. So it really helps with the functionality of getting things done across many people, and you can easily share work as well as check on edits, leave critiques, etc. It really does help in teamwork too. So first, when you go into Canva, you want to have a clear idea of what you want to create, because it could be very time consuming if you don't have a plan. So you want to make your message clear. You want to communicate in an engaging way, and you want to always make sure that you have a clear call to action and a priority for what is this post supposed to be doing. You also want to make sure that you're giving enough information so that people understand what you're posting, and you want to educate and not just decorate. One of the things I love about Canva is the multitude of elements and different ways that you can make your design more attractive, but that's when you can start to overcomplicate it. So simple is key. Just keep it simple, and look to make sure the message is clear, and then add in all of those decorative elements that make it pop and be memorable. So there's a lot of ways to use Canva. So you want to make sure that you're using colors and that you're layering things in a way that it improves the readability. Readability is extremely important. So you want to make sure that it's legible. One of the things that I love about Canva is the multitude of fonts that are available. So make sure that it's still legible, right? Because if they can't read the message, then it's not going to come across in a way that's effective for your business. So make sure that you're implementing the typography in an effective way. Your colors are bright and bold and fun, but you're not using colors that are too close and not enough contrast where the readability is lowered. And there's a lot of different ways to layer in Canva as well, which is a lot of fun. And I'll show you that. We'll work on a project together, and I'll show you different ways to implement all of these different things. But overall, you want to start to integrate making sure that it's legible, right? So not distracting, colors that work well, etc. So really just to save your own time, since there is a lot of functionality within Canva, is again to have that planning. So plan what elements, pictures, and templates you're going to use. They're really easy to create and then save so that you can use them as templates and save your time in the future. And then know what color works best for your design. So I always suggest to work with a branding professional first to give you a good foundation. That foundation is going to give you a lot more efficiency in the future so that you're not grasping at what colors to use, what fonts to use, plus your messaging will be a little bit all over the place visually if you're kind of just going from post to post and not having a strong visual identity. So just make sure that you have that planning stage. That planning stage should start with your branding. Once you have a strong brand, utilizing Canva is extremely efficient. So start with a branding professional. I would not suggest creating your logo in Canva. Canva is great for many things, but don't use it for your logo. It won't convey in the correct manner. It won't look as professional as it should. One of the ways that Canva could be overutilized is utilizing it for that logo and that overall brand elements that you just start to look amateur, right? So even though Canva is very accessible, when it's overutilized, it starts to cheapen the brand identity. So you'd want to supplement with Canva, but don't use Canva in lieu of getting an actual logo, working with a branding expert, and creating that strong foundation for your business so that Canva allows it to shine and not make it look not as professional as it potentially could. So just keep that all in mind. That's that planning phase. I would do that planning phase before you even begin Canva, just so that when you do utilize Canva, it's in a way that's going to augment your business and make it better. And so that's something that is, I feel like, is very necessary to say, just because it does offer so much. But I've seen Canva used in ways where it didn't look so good. So next, you want to have a clear flow. So one of the reasons that Canva is so easy is that it's very drag and drop. And so using dividing lines, housing shapes, allowing clarity for your message, you always want to make sure that your designs have room to breathe. So don't overcrowd. I know there's a lot to offer on Canva, but don't overcrowd your design just because you think something looks cute. Does it help the actual message? So keep that in mind. And here are some designs that were all made in Canva. As you could see, there's a very cohesive brand look. So this is the branding that I'm talking about, with having a specific palette, specific fonts, and utilizing those to create the brand identity that your business needs. So as you can see here, these are all quotes. They're all done in fun ways, but they're done in a way that is specific to this brand, and it creates a stronger identity. So just take a look at those. I loved creating them. They were a lot of fun. And what I'm going to do now is actually show you the entire program. So this is just like an overview of the different things that Canva can offer. This is the home page. So when you go to Canva for the very first time, what you're going to do is see this. So you're going to see design anything. You see your presentation, social media, video, print products, marketing. There's a lot here, but I would say focus on this bottom row because it's going to start giving you suggestions. And as you utilize Canva, those suggestions will be direct for what you've used in the past. So I've used Instagram posts, flyers, LinkedIn posts, infographics, posters, business cards, etc. I'm going to start with an Instagram post. Now, what I love most about Canva is that the sizing is correct. So going from and maneuvering in between Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all the different social media platforms, the sizing can be really confusing for people that aren't graphic designers or really know anything about what will upload correctly. So when you see Instagram post, it will have the correct dimensions and it will upload perfectly. So click on Instagram post. As you can see here over on the left side, you'll see elements, uploads, text, different folders that you have if you have any. And these templates are a good start, but I would say to first understand what your branding is before you dive into all of this, because it can be very overwhelming with all of the different options available. So we're going to dive into recently used. So here are some examples. And I really love this one because it's for an event. So events are a really popular topic right now. People are out and about, they're getting things done. And when your business has an event, it's super easy to streamline the process of that event promotion. So I'm going to show you how. So as you can see here, the text is all very intuitive, right? So it's just like Word and some of the other programs that you've used where you can move it around. You can keep everything within the margins. I always suggest to show the margins. So under file right here, I would say have those margins on just for good graphic design, really. When you keep everything within the margins, it does help. This is a template, so if I was designing this, I would have moved this down and just kept everything within the margins. It looks just very clean and professional. So as you can see here that there's these little like red, purple lines coming up. Pay attention to those. Those are going to help you center because this is an intuitive program that is simplified. You really rely on these guidelines just to make sure it's centered and everything is looking straight and not crooked, etc. You can choose your fonts from up here. So right at the top, you see a bar that has a lot of different elements for your text. And then you can choose your font size, your colors. When you have your branding kit uploaded, you can have your in Creative Code primary, in Creative Code accent, et cetera, et cetera. We have a bunch of colors preset for the different work that we provide, alignment. There's a lot of different elements when it comes to bullets, numbers, spacing. So letter spacing and line spacing is a great option. You can also anchor a text box. And then the effects. The effects, I wouldn't go overboard with these, use these sparingly, just because the legibility is low. And you want to make sure that it's congruent with your actual branding. You can also do some very slight animations. It is like lower quality, so I wouldn't rely on this for any sort of animation, but it is something nice to add in here and there. Then when you click on these three dots, you can underline, uppercase, You can copy a style, which really helps in saving time, transparencies, and you can also add in active links. So if you were to upload this as a PDF with a link, someone could click on it and it would bring them to the URL, your ticket purchase, etc. And you can also lock things as well. So what that means is if you definitely want this text box to stay in line, the lock is right in that bottom right-hand corner, and you can see that that is not moving anywhere. Then if I wanted to move it around, you can unlock it, and then you can also duplicate. So you can duplicate this entire design very easily. This really helps in creating a sequence, a collection, etc. It definitely helps in saving time. And then you can also just add a completely blank page. The trash can is just that. That's how you delete things. And then there's also the positioning. So positioning is layering different items. So if I was to move this over the podcast live, this can be positioned forward or backward. See, so it brings it forward or backward. That's how you can understand where it is positioned within the actual graphic. As your graphics develop, understanding proper layering is a great tool. And I just move that back super easily. See how it all just lined up? I see my purple guidelines and then I drop it. It's very intuitive, and I'm more than confident that all of you can understand this whole array of options once just logging in and getting started. So for an event, one of the ways that I love Canva is that I can take this Instagram post and I can resize it to, let's say, a LinkedIn banner. So I click on resize, I select LinkedIn banner, and I copy and resize. So what you can see here is that the canvas is resized, and then I have to adjust this layout. So for this, I would say I would move these headshots over to the side. I would increase the font size of this title. I would bring their names back to underneath as well. And then I would start to recreate this design, and really just taking into account the different options that make the message clear and concise. And it's just all about re-maneuvering, having some creativity along the way, using my guidelines, and really trying to simplify this entire process as much as possible. So that is an example of how I would start to recreate this for an event. There are a lot of other reasons why I'd use Canva for an event specifically, especially with the promotion. So what I would do is also resize it to a Facebook cover. There's also YouTube channel art. There's a presentation, poster, Instagram story, infographic, card, photo collage, flyer, invitation, resume, A4 document, and so on and so on. And it really starts to get very in-depth on what you can resize this to. And it helps in duplicating and creating a collection. And that collection is now your promotional graphics. So this is a very simple framework. What I'll show you now is the different elements available. So on this left-hand side is this main toolbar, and you'll see templates, elements, uploads, and text. So elements is where you can find your lines and shapes. This search bar is very helpful in when you're looking for something specific. So let's say I put in the word cloud. I now have graphics of clouds, pictures of clouds, etc. I can also look at it specifically with just photos, graphics, videos, audio, etc. So it really helps with finding things really quick when I have something specific in mind. I also see graphics, photos, videos, audio. There's some charts that are helpful for presentations, infographics. Frames is specific for putting in a picture. So let's say I wanted to add in this picture. I then would drag it into the frame and now I have a circle photo. That's how these circle headshots were created. And then going into grids. So grids is also for photos. So I could drag in different photos here and create a photo grid very easily. And it is meant to be intuitive. So it's really plug and play. Then you have text. So you have text in all different types. And it really helps to have specific fonts in mind. Your fonts can be saved. So you have recently used, you have your brand fonts, you have your uploaded fonts. Uploaded fonts are great if you have a specific brand kit you're working with, and then popular fonts, which is the fonts that come with Canva automatically. You can use these font combinations. Again, make sure that they align with your branding and it's not, you know, kind of like all over the place visually. I'm going to get into that more succinctly. I do think that this entire program is very intuitive. So I'm going to talk about now your actual design theory. So graphic design is a skill. Even though you have all of these options available to you, you still have to have that creative eye and the direction and the know-how, which is that visual aspect of understanding how to put things together. So when you're in Canva, you want to make sure that you can think about lines. So in graphic design basics, lines are used in many different ways. Lines are a great element to use within Canva, and they have a bunch of different kinds, and then you can change the thickness of the lines, the length of the lines. Really, the sky's the limit on the way that you can use lines. But I want to start having you understand like why you would use line. So line is a shape that connects two or more points. You can use it to emphasize, you can use it to create a attention towards a call to action. Lines can be things like arrows, or it can help create different sections and create more visibility. You can use them for emphasis, and overall, lines are a great thing to use to make your designs just more functional, and they look good. So when you're creating graphics, think about how you can use lines to create breaks and create space, etc. Next, you want to look at these examples of lines. I really love the way that lines can break up different areas and create space and create definition. It is really nice to see lines used well, and it's a very easy element to utilize in Canva. So definitely look to these as a way to emphasize what you're creating. For example, arrows. You can also look at lines as like this box around the photo. If the photo was present with the text would not be legible. And with a sign like this, you need to have maximum visibility. So utilizing this box and allowing the text to shine is definitely a way to emphasize your message and get people to understand what you're creating as quick as possible. Another way to use lines is like these elements. So this is that photo grid, and these lines create a nice break. So if these photos were touching each other, it would be very busy. These white lines create space, which then create definition and make everything look very aesthetic. So it helps with that aesthetic. And I really love the way that this looks, and it's a very clever way to allow the lines to not be the shining star, but allow the photos to really be emphasized in the way that they need to be. So another way to use lines are not just straight, lines are also curvy and wavy. So you can utilize lines in a fun way like this. Also, borders are a great way to use lines and emphasize and create definition. So think about lines like that as well. Another thing to think about is shape. So shapes are very easy to pull up in Canva. You can type in the search heart, circle, square, etc., and it will come up very quickly. They're very grab and pull. So when you're utilizing shapes, make sure that it's to emphasize the message and communicate the ideas visually, and they can create a really large impact. So think of the way that we see like street signs or symbols, and all of the ways that they can create organization and separation. Shapes are a very smart way to make your graphics look professional and separate them from the amateurs using Canva. So with shapes, this is an example of a shape you utilize to make a headshot look fun and engaging. Shapes are also used to just accentuate. So we have shapes here on the side. We have a shape here for the headshot, and it just makes everything look very clear, concise, fun, and also conveys the message in a way that will grab attention and not distract from attention. Another way to use shapes is to make sure that your text is visible. So this shape behind each of the text has a slight transparency decrease, and then you want to overlay the text, and it's just very visible, especially for signage. You want to make sure that your text is visible, but it's still fun and it's still colorful, and you can have color and fun and utilize shape as well so that your message is strong. And these are all things that can be made within Canva, and it's really about your creativity and your graphic design know-how because the tools are so accessible. Then next for shapes, these are very fun ways to use shapes. So we have a dot pattern, we have circles of varying sizes, half moons, lines, circles, it's a very fun, but also clear and concise. We also have a cloud behind here, which is a really fun shape to emphasize the title of the event. And I just love it. I think that it looks really fun and it offers some bold elements, but it doesn't distract from the message, right? And also utilizing that shapes to highlight this text. So as you can see here, the text is within shapes, and that allows that text to be clear and strong and convey a message that will grab attention. Without these shapes here, the text would get kind of lost. So think about the fun ways that you could use shapes and emphasize your message instead of distracting from it. So next is form. Graphic designs are easier to make in Canva, but don't utilize form in like a heavy way. So there are a lot of elements available, but you want to make sure that they're being utilized in a fun and smart way. So form is any sort of 3D or 2D shape. These are all examples right here. When you are searching for these shapes and forms within Canva, you want to put it in the elements search and try to be as concise as possible. So if you're looking for a rubber ball, maybe try to say a bouncing rubber ball or the color of the rubber ball, etc. You want to be a little bit more direct, just so that you're not spending an exorbitant amount of time scrolling through elements. So when you're using that search functionality, you want to have a clear vision and direction just for your time's sake, because you really can spend an obnoxious amount of time searching for things, and it's just a waste. So when you are looking for different forms, make sure that you're doing it with a specific object in mind. So the next thing with forms, you want to make sure that you're utilizing things in a way which would be emphasizing the message. So as you can see here, there is copy, there's pictures, and everything has breathing room and space. It's not like overlapping. It's not complicated. One of the things that I've seen that people overload on forms, especially like newbies in Canva, they'll put on too much. So it's a little bit like when you're putting on accessories for an outfit, when before you go out, you take off something, right? So you want to just eliminate and keep it simple. You can really use the same thing for your design. So before you upload your designs and they're ready to publish, think about how can you make it more clear and concise and not distract. So think about that as well. You don't want to distract things. You want to take them off. So that's really my biggest advice, is don't overuse forms. Use them, specifically. Another use of form, these are actually created in Illustrator, but they are a really great way to emphasize a physical object and make it beautiful with illustration. And these forms are easily uploaded into Canva. So one of the reasons why Canva is easily uploaded is you can use things that you made in Adobe. So let's say you have a graphic designer, you have someone that can create more complicated designs. They can upload them into your Canva account with a transparent background, and then you can start utilizing them within your Canva design. So that's something to keep into consideration. If you have something that is more custom and too complicated for Canva, you can have it made outside of Canva and then upload it into Canva. Then another way to use form is like this really fun ribbon. There's a lot of ways to use form to emphasize a message just like this. And I love that it allows the text to be bold and still have a clear and concise message, but you can still use forms in a way that is not distracting, right? Because distraction is not the purpose of the elements. It's really supposed to be to emphasize the message. So that's some ways that you can be inspired. Next is texture. So texture is a fun way to utilize the different things that we have in Canva. Texture is something that is talked about during your branding. So different textures will convey a different visual meaning, and you want to make sure that your textures are going to emphasize what you're making and not detract from what you're making. So you can use textures for background images. You can also use it for distressed fonts. You can make icons look glossy. You can make them look smooth. You could use them to make them look matte. Any of these things really make your graphics come to life, and they allow it to have some tactile elements visually where they feel like they could be like touched and held. The interesting thing about graphic design is that it's digital, but it can still have very familiar features that we see in our physical life. So elements of texture is this like t-shirt texture that it looks a little bit worn, and that is an overlay on here that is really fun and adds a nice element where it's not so flat. Without this texture overlay, it looks flat. It doesn't look as fun or engaging. Also, these splatters are a really cool texture. And also this paint, right? So there's a lot of textures going on here. And if we were to use solid shapes, it wouldn't be as fun to look at. It wouldn't convey the same message. So these are different ways to think about your designs differently and elevate your designs instead of always using the humdrum like circle shapes, triangles. There are a lot of ways to upgrade your designs by adding in these elevated options like textures. Also, textures can make things look glossy. So this is a digital image, but you can see the reflection. You can see some shine. It has a tactile appearance where you can imagine how this would look in person. And that also elevates a design aesthetic and allows it to be more engaging to look at rather than always using a flat color. So next, but not least, is balance. Balance is extremely crucial in creating equal distribution and allowing the viewer's eye to not be overconsumed. So you want to make sure that there's balance. So look at the X and Y axes, the different grid lines that Canva creates is a nice way to integrate balance a little bit easier than in the Adobe Suite, etc. And look to balance in everything. So color, size, number, negative space. Symmetrical designs are an easy way to create a good balance, but then there's also asymmetrical designs as well. And that can also create a very strong call to action and have evenly distributed weight, but in a fun way. So you don't need to always be symmetrical. You can also be asymmetrical. So with balance, here is a Canva grid that is utilized. It's for Instagram. So this is the entire feed, and it was uploaded one picture at a time to create this entire grid. So as you can see, this is asymmetrical design. There's balance, but it's balance within a lot of elements. So this is looking at the bigger feed and understanding the way that balance can be created utilizing asymmetry. There's also balance like this. So this graphic has great balance because it has horizontal. So if you were to take this graphic and split it in half, and fold it, these hands would match up. The hearts are a little asymmetrical, but it really creates just a beautiful balance here, and it makes the message shine and come through very crisp and clear. Another thing to think about balance is with text. So text can also have a nice visual balance that allows easy readability and keep things very easy on the eye. So less eye strain means that people are able to read things faster and clearer and quicker, and in turn understand what your graphic is about. And next with balance is this vertical design. So if we were to take this graphic and fold it in half, this crown is perfectly symmetrical, and also the faces are symmetrical as well. The text is nicely laid out, and it's just a beautiful visual of symmetry and the way that symmetrical design can really allow a message to become strong and clear. And next is colors. So here are some color tips. You want to make sure that you have primary colors and they're mixed with the secondary colors. There's a lot to say about color theory. So this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Make sure that you are using a palette that you worked with a branding expert, just so that you're being strategic and utilizing all of this information in a way that's going to emphasize your brand and not detract from it. Also, here are some examples. So this little collage is here so that you can understand the emphasis on a brand, right? So this branding is very clear and concise. It all looks cohesive and together. The visuals, the textile, the color size, the spacing, the symbols, it's all matching. The words, the phrase, and the hashtags are all signature, and it creates this cohesive story that your followers can understand, and you become more memorable, and your visual identity is strong, and it has that foundation that you really need to utilize Canva in its highest capacity. Next is how you can contact me. So you can work with me at increative.com. This is my email. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all of the different places. Happy to take questions and go from there.
Sure. So thank you, Andrea, first off. Thanks for really, really packed a lot of great ideas that you had there. So let's go right to the questions. Somebody asked, will this be shared with attendees? Yes, we will be putting this on our Monmouth Score YouTube page, and all the attendees will get this sent to your email in a few days. You can check back, but that'll be posted to you. Margaret asked, can you advise how to fit photos on Google Business? When I upload, they are too large for the template.
So Google Business, I don't believe, is a size that is already preset in Canva. So what you would do is find out the exact ratios for the Google Business photos and then create it yourself. So what you would do is create a custom canvas. So I'll share my screen and I'll show you where to do that really quick. It's very easy, and once you have those correct size dimensions, you would just, so you click custom size and you put in the correct width and height. You can select in pixels, inches, etc. And usually if you were to search the Google Business graphic size, it would be in pixels, and then you just put in the width and the height and click custom size, and then it would create the new design utilizing something that would upload correctly.
Okay, and there's both a free and a paid version. Would you suggest trying it out on the free one or go dive right into the paid version?
So you could start with the free, but honestly, there are a lot of limitations there. So if you're serious about creating content, I would just do the paid version and begin to create graphics that utilize all of the functions instead of just, trying to, work with what they have. I mean, the free version is still available, but I just feel like it is limiting, and most of the stuff that I discussed is not available. The resize is not available for the free. So it really is a simpler version that's gonna keep you at a deficit.
It's fairly inexpensive. A monthly fee is about what, $12.95, something like that. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not a big leap of faith to do that, I think. Somebody else asked, Caroline asked, do you use the colors in that palette you showed, or can you add a color that you already have for your brand?
So you would want to create a custom palette for your brand within the brand kit, and you would use your hex codes to implement the correct color. So that's something that you would work with a branding professional to make sure that was done correctly.
Okay, and Barbara's asking, can you lock several elements together?
Yes, you would use the shift key.
Okay, and Barbara also asked, when duplicating, can you share just one of the pages to social media, etc.?
Yeah, so you would download that one page. So when you download it, you would only select that page, just like how you print pages from a printer. You select the pages that you want to download. It's very similar, and it's very intuitive. So you would just make sure that you're downloading the correct one, and then you would have it.
Okay, and once you make up a template, can you use that, share that in multiple social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, different things, using the same content that you just did, just replicate it on different platforms?
Yeah, so what you would do is you would resize it. So you would resize it so it would fit the different dimensions necessary.
Okay, and would you be able to insert video into a Canva?
It's limited. You can. They do have some video functionality. I wouldn't say it's at all an editor. I'm not able to really do much, but they're starting. So it's a elementary video. It's very elementary. It's not really for video. It's more for pictures and graphics.
And once you get your brand that you've been speaking about, you can use it in many different ways. For instance, like a Facebook cover photo, you could use that to keep that amongst many different platforms and use that same thing over and over again, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, and let's see. Can a designed piece be copied and shared with company team members?
Yeah, so you would add it to your team folder, and then everyone would have access to it. Everyone that has access to the folder would have access to that design.
Okay. And somebody else asked, are all graphics free?
So with the paid version, yes.
And stock photos, is that included?
So most of the stock photos are, there's a plethora of stock photos that are free. There might be some on there that aren't, but what I've seen with the paid version is that there's really a ton of options with both the elements and the photo. So you do get some amazing options that are stock.
Okay. And can I schedule content? I guess that would be, so I guess like scheduling Facebook media, or can you schedule it? So once you create it, can you somehow create it to go out at certain times across different platforms, or is that internally within that platform itself?
So with Canva, they're starting to have things like that, but I wouldn't say it's at all a Hootsuite or Later or any of the others. They are dabbling in that. So one of the things that I like about Canva is that they're always trying out new things and new features. So there is a way to have your content linked to your profiles, and then you can post directly from Canva. And they're testing the waters, and as Canva progresses, so will those capabilities.
Okay. And how about in Canva, can you use what you've created in Canva for like email campaigns where you could send out that graphic? Is it easy or difficult to do with email?
So to create emails in Canva, is that your question?
If you've created a piece that you want to have and you want to send it out in an email, is that easy to just, is there a way that you could just import that into an email to send it out, or is there limitations? I know sometimes in like pictures, there's limitations.
So it really depends on the email platform that you use, but really you'd have to still create the email within that email platform. So it's not at all an email subscription platform at all. I mean, you could make graphics and then upload them into the email, but you still need to create that email within that platform that you use, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp. It doesn't replace that at all.
Okay. And for readability, are there certain colors that really work well to contrast? I mean, I've seen a lot where they're almost the background or the busyness, and then the font on top of that, you can't even read what it is. Are there certain colors that work best with having a contrast, either for the text or the background?
Yes, there is. That's a whole design theory that is a very large topic. when it comes to having just high readability and allowing people to of all eyesights to see it. I mean, really the safest option is black, right? So black text on a white background is the highest contrast possible, and that does allow the highest visibility. But that's kind of a larger question that is a whole other topic.
Okay. And let's see, somebody's asking, so it sounds like the best thing to do is first work with a creative agency on identifying your brand guidelines and invest in this. Once you have done that, then you can keep the brand consistency in Canva and do your designs on your own. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And that's what we help a lot of businesses do. So when I work with a business, there is a lot of times where I say, do you want to use Canva? If that's on the schedule that they want to implement Canva, I help them set up that brand kit and everything. And I've done that with many businesses, and they feel that they are off to a solid start. And then they have professionals that they can ask questions to as they make their content, et cetera, based on that foundation that we laid out.
Yeah, so I think what happens is many people are in business doing whatever they do for their business. They're running a restaurant, they have a store, they have certain businesses, and they're busy running their business. And quite frankly, aren't experts in what you need to get a great presentation. Perhaps using a company like yours to get that will allow them to keep working on their business, get a really great professional brand going that they could use and maximize it again and again. Correct? Because there's not a whole lot of Canva experts probably in this room other than yourself. So, so this presentation will be, again, it will be available on YouTube. I would always encourage you to share this with your colleagues, share it with other people that you know, because whenever you give somebody something, reciprocation happens, and it's going to help both you and them. So share this. It'll be available on our YouTube page in a couple of days. You're going to get this follow-up email, and you'll have this YouTube message there. It'll also give you Andrea's contact information, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions that you may have that may not have been answered today, but maybe an hour, 2 hours from now that you might think of. And you know, we all have value from using an outside expert to do what we do better. And Andrea is a perfect example of that. So afterwards, you'll get a follow-up email, and maybe we could set you up to differentiate yourself from other businesses. You know, in the last year, there's been so much pivoting, disruption, changes. Unfortunately, some businesses suffered, some businesses came around, and this is just another way to help you to grow your business. So with that, I'd like to thank Andrea for doing this great presentation today. And again, I offer that if you go to monmouthscore.org, you can find a mentor, and he or she can work alongside with you to help you in marketing, sales, how your company is structured, accounting. We don't actually do the work, but rather we're a mentor to guide you and help you to do your business better. And by the way, the last year, talking about pivoting, Monmouth Score had a 220% increase in people requesting services. And although we have a lot of volunteers in our chapter, we're looking for additional mentors. So if you have a lot of experience that you're willing to share with others, you don't have to be an expert in everything, but we are looking for more people. We're looking for more women business mentors too. So again, just reach out to monmouthscore.org. And otherwise, I wish you guys a great day where you can stay inside the cool. And once again, thank you, Andrea. And look forward to our next webinar. It's always free. And if you have any ideas for any content that you like to be shared, please let us know, because that's how we get these great webinars. So with that, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.